Welcome, everyone. We are really happy today to have with us Katherine Simpson of Simpson ADR, who is going to talk to us from the point of view of an arbitrator in an online arbitration space. Now, Katherine Simpson has worked for, I believe, decades, if I remember right, with some of the greatest arbitrators that were all well known, such as Rusty Park at London Court of International Arbitration, and Karl-Heinz Bockstiegel of Germany, who was at the Iran-U.S. Claims Tribunal. And she's also an arbitrator in her own right, dealing with cases. And so she has a vast experience. Another thing that a lot of people don't know about Katherine is that she has been really an amazing force here in the United States for arbitrators of African descent in trying to highlight the importance of naming and appointing and hiring people of African descent in the international arbitration arena. So she's a really good person too. And so I'm really happy that she's been willing to share some time with us today with regards to her experience as an arbitrator in online arbitration. So Katherine, welcome. We're really happy to have you here today.
Thank you, Ben. It's an honor to be here.
Well, Katherine, to start off, one of the things I was thinking about is how is an arbitrator, how do you sort of prepare yourself for being in this online arbitration space as opposed to all those offline arbitrations that you'd had before? You know, what were the kind of thoughts you had to think about or for just preparing for this new environment, if I could say it like that?
Well, for preparing for the hearing, I started to think about what makes an in-person hearing special and what is going to make an online hearing different. One thing that makes an online hearing different is exactly this. We can focus in exactly on one another's faces, and that is something that you don't do in an in-person hearing. Instead, you'll be able to look back at all of the arbitrators, the counsel on each side, the witness in the middle, and there will be plenty of events to distract your eyes. The online setup simply doesn't do that, but there are ways that I thought I needed to protect the award that would eventually come out of the hearing, because I didn't want a party to be able to challenge the award based on saying, well, it didn't look like she was paying attention. Because like right now, I'm looking directly at the camera and I'm giving you that warm and fuzzy feeling of eye contact. And in reality, it's not eye contact at all. If I were trying to look at you, I would be looking at this part of the screen. And so I wrote an introduction for the hearing that went through all of the different places that I would be looking that I was planning on looking during the hearing, so that the parties wouldn't be scared or annoyed or think that I wasn't paying attention. So I said, here we have eye contact, but claimant, sometimes it's going to be far more comfortable for me to look at you directly when you're speaking. And the same is true for you, respondent. But in addition, I've got screens where I've got some evidence here and some evidence here. And even though it looks like I'm looking completely off camera, I'm not. I'm totally involved in the documents that you've submitted and in what each of you are saying. But I also pointed out that they would see me doing a lot of this because I still like taking notes by hand. Sometimes I type notes, sometimes I take them by hand, but I take really good notes by hand. And I did, what's that thing going on at the bottom of the screen? But I got a little bit personal with the parties because it's not totally visible right now, but it's starting. I have a little muscle on my forehead, and when it gets tired, I look skeptical. Everybody's resting face does something different, and my eyebrow raises. Yeah, And the thing is that once my eyebrow goes up, if it goes with the other one or just on its own, it doesn't always go down on its own, and I won't even feel it. So I let the parties know that if I was looking at them or the camera with a raised eyebrow, it didn't communicate a thing. I would just
Yes.
have to reach up and manually put that puppy down,
Mhm.
and we would continue. And that gave the parties a laugh, uh, fortunately. But they also thanked me, because when they were speaking, if they had seen my eyebrow still in the upright position, it would have disturbed them.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that whole dialogue there seems to me like the getting acquainted moment, if I can say that, where people really relax. If you're trying to get people to relax and also have your credibility raised with them as to your neutrality, is that part of that what you're thinking about? You know?
Well, yes, and it was also it was making them comfortable and letting them know that if they had any interesting facial or verbal tics, that wasn't this hearing was not going to be a contest of who could stare most intently directly into the camera, but that for me it was more important for them to get the information out. Now, another thing that I did setting up for the hearing is I decided that I was not going to be sitting. I'm standing up right now. You can see my high back chair behind me, because I know that when I'm sitting, I can start to slouch. Maybe I might relax into something and really look like I'm not paying attention. But in an online hearing, if I'm standing up, my feet are going to tell me exactly when we need a break. So nobody's
Mm.
going to have to run through 4 or 5 hours of nonstop online hearing. Oh, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, we will be taking a break.
Yeah.
It's a matter of physics.
These are great tricks of the trade, I think, really, really of figuring out how to manage the interaction, but it's at a distance. Yet it's that's great. So if correct me if I could sum it up, you start off by getting everyone comfortable, and maybe even getting some reveals of people of their own tics, helping them understand your technology space. And I would assume would also let you know what is their technology space in terms of they might have 4 screens in front of them and they refer to this or that or something. Um, One of the things that I was wondering about is this famous share screen technology here. Did you think about sharing screens, or did parties, as part of their exhibits, did they think about sharing screens with you to show what they were trying to talk about, like a PowerPoint, that kind of thing? And,
No, we didn't share screens.
okay.
And I like the idea of sharing screens, except that I'm not ready to share mine. Because,
Yeah.
well, when you share a screen and you have 3 monitors going, as I do, I don't I don't want the parties to see exactly what I'm looking at. That
Right.
could unduly prejudice one party, benefit another party, and in an in-person hearing, they would never get the opportunity to see what my desktop looked like. Why should that change in the online world?
Right.
So what the parties did was they sent to the arbitral institution that was hosting the hearing simultaneously their PowerPoints or PDFs that they were going to be using. And this was planned into the procedural order ahead of time, so that it wouldn't be that one party got everything and the other was still preparing.
Okay. Okay. All right. So now, with regards to these bundles of documents that we imagine in the physical world, okay, that are now, I guess, like a folder in Microsoft Word or something like that, Outlook folders. How well did the people uh, how important is it for the person preparing something for you as the arbitrator to be clear in their organization in an online electronic format of what they're trying to present in their case?
I hope that this is the moment that hearing bundles might disappear. It is,
Ah,
well, if in a proceeding, especially in a large proceeding where you've got thousands of exhibits, the exhibits are numbered consecutively, and this was also for my hearing something that we set out in Procedural Order 1, and R1 is always going to be R1. R34 is going to be R34. And I noticed in the in-person setting, when parties would say, I need you to turn to binder B tab 12. Could you look at that document and tell me what it is? And they would read the title. And then for me as tribunal secretary, I was always trying to figure out, okay, they're talking about R34 in binder B for this witness. Now I hope that parties will be able to be straightforward with tribunal USBs that only reference the exhibit number rather than an entire map to how you could maybe find it in the paper world.
right,
But
right.
but there are online programs that do virtual hearing bundles, Casado being one
Mhm.
that I'm familiar with.
And that I, I imagine that clarity is, as usual, even more important maybe in the online space and then the offline space in the manner in which they present their case, right? Organization, clarity, like a hyper level of organization, you would say, just to make it really simple for you, for the arbitrator to understand where they're going.
Well, in the online setting, you don't have the dramatic page flipping or the reaching for the binder. And really, in an online setting, people have different levels of patience. I
Mm.
think that people are much more instant in demand right now when it's an online event than an in-person event where take small breaks throughout.
Okay, okay.
But